On July 27, 1968, God's prophecy written in the Bible about the Church of Christ reaching the far west was fulfilled when the first worship service was held in Eva Beach, Honolulu, Hawaii. Despite the various challenges faced by the church, since the beginning of its works in the far west, the church continued to flourish. Church members have continued sharing their faith, resulting in people from different backgrounds joining the church. Houses of worship were also built and dedicated to God. In addition, the church has also provided aid to those affected by different calamities. In July 2018, the church reached its 50th anniversary in the West, which was commemorated through worship services conducted by the current executive minister of the church, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo.
Hearing the important message that Brother Eduardo had for us, just the words that just gave me the strength, the faith that we need to go on in our duties in the church.
It's in the way that he imparts that wisdom to us that he's helping us stay focused on what we need to do as church members so that we can get the benefit of being church members. We can have that inspiration to keep going.
Every time he preaches it, you're uplifted so much in your faith because he strengthened us with God's words.
The worship service is central to my faith because in the worship service, I'm able to be given direction from the words of God.
The executive minister pushes us to be more mindful of God's teachings. The message was, if we are looking for our salvation, it's not out there everywhere. It is only in the Church of Christ.
Without God's help and blessings, none of these things would happen. And to see things happening, even at such a rapid pace, it just shows you that you are in the right place.
Activities were also held in different locations around the world. And now that 5 years have passed, we interviewed brethren who were part of the 50th anniversary celebration of the church in the West.
My preparations for the 50th anniversary in the West consisted of being part of the production staff.
We had a play and activities in Poughkeepsie, New York, so I helped to recruit one of the cast members in the play.
It's a funny story. I was actually just driving them in the 50th, and over time they said, hey, do you want to be an extra? Before you knew it, I was in the opening number doing one of the dances.
We were always reminded of why we were doing this, who we were doing this for.
Probably my first event where I could truly understand the gravity of what was going to happen as we commemorated 50 years in the West.
We had a week before the grand celebration.
We held rehearsals up until the actual day of the event.
Yung pagod, nawawala ng pagod pag nakikita mo yung mga kapatid na masaya tapos manood ka ng mga nagpe-perform.
I was happy, overwhelmed, and overjoyed to be with so many different brethren.
We felt as if we were one family celebrating a great event.
After the 50th, life, of course, continued on. We continued our own way of living. And as we kept moving forward, more issues continued to come about.
17 people killed in connection with a mass shooting.
Gun violence. You always see it on the news, and to have it happen at your kid's school, that's every parent's worst nightmare.
Healthcare spending is rising around the world.
The U.S. Surgeon General has called it an urgent public health crisis. a devastating decline in the mental health of kids across the country.
From all directions, whether it be social unrest, whether it be our own financial issues or our own issues within the family, everything has been pressing down on us from all sides.
We begin tonight with a nation already on edge in the coronavirus pandemic as protests turn violent across America.
I understand there's a lot of things going on, and I feel like it is really hard to get through.
The rise in suicidal thoughts since the pandemic hit. What can we do about this right now? And
Definitely my first time experiencing that sort of cascade of issues happening all around me.
We've continued to see a gradual decay in traditional values, intellectualism, and social trust with a considerable...
You know, as a parent, you worry a lot about your kids, and they do face so much more than we ever had to.
We have forces everywhere that tries to pull you away from your faith.
With the problems around the world happening back to back, some felt lost. Social anxiety, panic due to insecurity, economic recession, and severe psychological stress are some of the things people experienced.
The only thing that we can do is be prayerful about it, that will overcome the external turmoil that is happening.
We just have to remain vigilant.
This is the perfect time to prove how true we are as Christians.
Of course, I was saddened to hear all this is happening. At the same time, it's just not very surprising because we were taught as the end draws nearer, these kinds of incidents are going to be more and more frequent. Times will be a lot more difficult. As sad as it is, you know, it also makes me more aware that, hey, you really got to be on your guard now more than ever.
Ang kanilang tagubilin sa amin, kaugnay ng mga, ang totoo, hindi lang doon sa mga kabataan, kundi sa kabuuan ng mga kapatid. Sa kanilang pagbibilin ay meron pa silang ibinigay na talata mula sa Biblia. Para iyon ang mabasa doon sa mga kapatid. Sa unang Tesalonica 3:5, nang sabi ni Apostol Pablo, hindi na ako makatiis. Kaya nagpasugo ako sa inyo upang makabalita tungkol sa kalagayan ng inyong pananampalataya. Nangangamba ako, sabi ni Apostol Pablo. Baka nadadaya na kayo ng manunukso. Ang manunukso ay si Satanas. So nag-aalala ang ating namamahala. Dahil nga sa sama ng paligid, baka merong ilang nakakawa na sa masamang takbo ng mundo. Baka may nadadaya na itong si Satanas at napipinsala na yung kanilang pananampalataya. Kaya talagang ang bili nila, kumustahin ninyo yung mga kapatid. Gusto nilang makabalita, hindi man nila personal na masadya kaagad, ay makapag-ulat kaagad sa kanila yung kanilang mga inatasan tungkol sa kalagayan ng pananampalataya ng ating mga kapatid. Nais nila na ang lahat, saan man sila naroroon, masiglang nakapaglilingkod, maging karapat-dapat sa pagtatamo ng kaligtasan.
It is really helpful that our executive minister is giving us this guidance on how to speak with our children, how to guide them through all of the issues that they're facing now.
We're very grateful for what the church administration is continuing to do for the youth, and we can see that. Number one, through the lessons that we hear in the worship service, projects that the church administration is providing for the youth. As a parent, it's very, very reassuring.
The fact that my children are officers in the church is a blessing. I feel more than lucky. I feel blessed that my children are still in the church, because that is the most important thing. As a parent, you hope that your family continues to grow and remain. The fact that they are active doesn't mean that I stop praying for them. It means that I pray even more and even harder, because the devil doesn't want to see them active. So they are actually at more risk for being threatened or tempted, because the devil's not happy when your children are busy working for the Lord.
If only a young Kadiwa member and even a Binhi member will just pay extra close attention to the worship service lessons, that young brother or sister will not just notice, but gain a better understanding of why do we do things like this in the church? Why is it that we don't do things in the church like the other people, like everyone else in the world do? It's because when we do things, it's in accordance to God's will. And why is it that we must avoid being influenced by the people of this world? Because what they're doing is going against God's commandments.
What inspires me to uphold my membership despite what's happening? Well, just like what Brother Edwell said, we have one thing that the world just doesn't have.
I have true hope. The people around me put hope in things that cannot guarantee their happiness, but most of all, their salvation.
Because I know that someone's always looking over me no matter where I am, which also means that like all the issues that happen to me, they're just it's just a part of the journey that we take as we move on with life.
I know that I have the hope of receiving salvation because of my membership, and that's something that guides my life.
The church administration prepares the members of the church. How so? Providing knowledge, because a person will only follow an influencer if they are convinced that the knowledge being put forth by that influencer is worthy to follow. They can only be convinced of that if they simply do not know anything else. Inside the church, members of the Church of Christ are provided knowledge of the words of God and the expectations of God recorded in the Holy Bible, the Scriptures. The church administration wants to be sure members of the church are educated about social issues, educated about the laws of God concerning life, and how to lead our life. When members of the church are very knowledgeable, and then here comes so-called platform influencers, they are not so inclined to just blindly follow. Why? Because they have knowledge about such issues. They have knowledge about the truth recorded and provided by God through the church administration. A negative influencer will not have an impact and does not impact the life of members of the church.
Kahit ganito pa ang ating pinaglalakbayan ngayong mundo, gaano man kasama ang ating paligid, gaano man ang panganib, tinuruan din tayo na dapat tayong sumampalataya, dapat tayong magtiwala, dapat tayong umasa sa magagawa ng Panginoong Diyos sa ating buhay. Kaya tayo panatag at patuloy tayo sa ating mga pagsunod.
It's instructed that we not worry. We hear it in our lessons. It's written in the Bible. I keep that in mind all the time, and that's the whole purpose of attending your worship service, so you can get that spiritual nourishment and those reminders that you have to stay prayerful. You can't give up for 1 minute. We have to nourish our souls the same way we nourish our bodies.
A lot of bad things are happening, but I feel like the second you step into a worship service, it's just this different atmosphere, and it's really comforting.
If I see that my children are actively giving happiness, obeying all the commandments of God, that is reassuring for me.
I feel at peace to see that my children, they've really internalized the teachings and that they use these teachings to guide them in their decisions. That does bring me peace because, one day we won't be around. And I'd be happy to know that they're always strong members in the faith.
Ang sabi sa atin ng Biblia, kinakailangan matiyak natin, nananatili sa landas ng Panginoon yung ating sambahayan. Kaya mga magulang, yan po ang ating isipin muna ngayon sa sandaling ito. Yan palang hinahanap ng Diyos sa atin. Kung gusto natin na tayo ay makarating sa uring ganap at makarating tayo sa kaligtasan, nagagawa ba natin yon? Nasusubaybayan ba natin ang ating sambahayan? Sila ba ay nananatili sa landas ng ating Panginoong Diyos? Kaya habang tayo ay buhay pa, dapat natitiyak natin na ituturo sa kanila yung aral. Nasasabi natin sa kanila yung ating mga naging karanasan bilang mga tao ng Diyos. Kung papaano tayo tinulungan ng Diyos sa panahon ng ating pangangailangan. At dapat natitiyak natin yun ay kanilang natatandaan. Kasi pagka nangyari yun, pumanaw man tayo. Yung ating mga anak, itatago yun ang kanilang sagutin. Maglilingkod sila sa ating Panginoong Diyos. At pagdating ng araw ng paghukom, magkikita-kita tayong muli doon sa bayang banal na ipinangako sa atin ng ating Panginoong Diyos. Sana yan ang mangyari sa atin, mga kapatid. Kayo nagtiyaga, nagtiis, ginawa ninyo ang lahat ng inyong magagawa para kayo makapanatili sa loob ng iglesia, kahit na nagdanas kayo ng pagsubok ng iba't ibang mga suliranin. Kung tayo man ay namayapa, nakatitiyak tayo ng kaligtasan natin sa araw ng paghukom. Pero dapat yung mga anak natin, matiyak din natin na pagdating ng araw ng paghukom, maliligtas din sila. Paano po mangyayari yun? Ngayon pa lang, sikapin na nating maituro sa kanila yung mga kalooban ng ating Panginoong Diyos. Huwag tayong magkasyang nakakadalo lang sila sa pagsamba. Dapat natitiyak natin. Naunawaan ba nila yung kanilang napakinggan sa pagsamba? Meron tayong family hour, di po ba? Naunawaan ba nila yung mga kalooban ng Diyos na dapat nating gawin? Pagka sila'y natuto doon sa tamang direksyon, yun nga, ulitin ko, mamaya pa man tayo, nakatitiyak tayo, pagdating ng araw ng paghukom, magkikita-kita tayo doon sa langit.
For members of the church, what will always be on our mind is that rather than adjusting to ensure that we will comply with the way of thinking and the way of speaking and terms that we use because we don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. We never want to hurt anyone's feelings, of course. But we will always make sure that we will stay within the parameters of the words of God first.
We do care about our friends, our loved ones, people around us who are not members of the church. That's one of the reasons why we have the intensive sharing of our faith. We want all the people to know God's love, His blessings, and His salvation. But what we prioritize above all else, we want to make God happy. We want to fulfill His will. We want to embrace the values He's teaching us and live the kind of life He wants us to live.
We have seen it go from a small church in the West to a very great nation of God in this part of the world. So we're really happy. This is a manifestation of God's being with us and fulfilling His promises, all for His glory and for our spiritual upliftment.
If there is any word to describe the growth of the Iglesia ni Cristo, the Church of Christ overseas, it's nothing short of remarkable. It's miraculous. We keep in mind what has happened in the world the last couple of years, where the entire world went through very difficult times. What you have seen in these difficult times with this world, as the world goes down, is the church continuing to ascend, to soar in its work.
Iglesia en Cristo Day here in the county of San Mateo. Congratulations.
Seeing the growth and the progress of the church in so many different ways, in so many different countries, it's really signifies the fulfillment of a biblical prophecy. You know, there was a statement of God recorded by the prophet Isaiah. More or less, he was saying, "I will work, and who will hinder it?" You know, and God was posing there a rhetorical question, wherein the answer is already there, and the answer is, well, no one can hinder it. And the evidence of that is what we're seeing in the world. The Iglesia ni Cristo, the Church of Christ, is able to progress because it fills the needs of people, and what people need most of all are the words of God that will lead them to salvation. They get introduced to the church, they can see the difference. They can hear the difference. They can feel the difference. They experience the difference.
Happy 55th anniversary! Happy anniversary! Happy anniversary!
Pag sumasapit ang anibersaryo ng iglesia, o kaya ay anibersaryo ng isang distrito o kaya ng isang lokal, at ngayon yung ika-55 taon ng pagsapit ng iglesia sa kanluran, kasama niya ng ating pagbabalik sa Diyos para mag-ukol ng pagpapasalamat, ng pagpupuri, sapagkat siya ang may gawa ng lahat ng ito. Wala tayong inaangking anuman. Kaya sa atin, purihin natin ang ating Panginoon.